All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Well, I got a burr under my saddle.
We talk, you listen.
Somebody that's going to take an innocent life is not mentally insane?
You know them.
Time to nut up or shut up.
You love to hate them.
It's the Denton and Sasquatch Show.
Can I bring my AR-15 next time?
Sure.
Yes.
This place is half talk show, half weird daycare. I love it.
You can't handle the truth.
Hello and welcome once again to the Denton and Sasquatch Show, coming to you both from California and Alabama. I'm the Squatch in California, and that dude on the other end of the mic, he is Denton, all the way out there in Alabama.
Dude. By the way, if you hear some clinking of ice cubes against the glass, no, I'm not getting snockered while we are recording. I just got off work, and I'm trying to rehydrate with lemonade.
You had to qualify that, huh?
Yes. One of these days, we should get snockered and make a podcast. That'll be fun.
I think so, too, because it would be probably hilarious for everybody else and not so much for us.
No, we would be doing the walk of shame the next day. It'd be horrible.
Yep.
But something, and if you want to hear that, for some reason you want to torture yourself, let us know by texting, emailing us at dentonandsasquatch@gmail.com. Or is that Denton and Sass?
DentonandSassShow@gmail.com.
I'll get it right one day. DentonandSassShow@gmail.com. Now, if you want to read what we write sometimes, and sometimes we actually do write, go to DentonandSasquatch.com. Or if you want to see us write more often, go to prepperforms.net, because we can't help but throw our 2 cents in with everybody else's postings and comments, because we are just that kind of people.
Like to hear ourselves talk. Right.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, when we get done with this, I saw a couple of posts I've got to respond to.
Well, you know what? Speaking of that, we are doing a topic today that came from a message we got on Prepper Forums from a member over there. So,
yeah, it's going to be great. But before then, did you hear what happened today? Thank you, Donald Trump.
Oh, boy. It could be so many things.
He locked down our borders and shot 52 people who tried to cross our border. No, wait, it wasn't our country. We would never do that. It was Israel. We moved our embassy from Tel Aviv to the actual capital of Israel, which is Jerusalem. Always has been, always will be, to Jerusalem. And it was a great thing. The Israelis were celebrating. The Palestinians even celebrated. They celebrated by trying to shove 35,000 people across the Gaza Israel border through the fence, and the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, celebrated by shooting down and bought about 52 of them. Pretty cool.
Wow, they actually protect their borders.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. If only we could get people here to understand how important borders are. But celebration in Israel, go America. Make America and Israel great again. It's great. I love it. And it's pissing off Muslims all around the world. It's a win-win. It's a twofer.
Oh, and
so that's all.
I was just going to say, we are doing the show on Monday night rather than Sunday, so happy belated Mother's Day to all of the mothers that listen to this podcast, if there are any.
That's up against the wall, redneck mothers.
Say that again?
It's a southern song. You're gonna up against the wall, redneck mothers.
Oh, okay.
Look it up after the show. You'll enjoy it.
I will.
As a matter of fact, that can be the outro. It'd be great.
All right, if I can find it. Well, you want to jump into that topic I was talking about?
I think we should.
Well, this came about because we got a email message on prepperforums.net from a listener to the podcast and also a member over there at the forum.
He's also been on the show.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he has. Pastor Dwight. He's been on the show a couple times, I believe. But I just wanted to read his email, and then we'll just jump off from there. We didn't really do a lot of sort of reading up on this or anything. This is just going to be kind of us spitballing, sort of.
Very little preparation.
Yeah. So the email reads, "Hey guys, I have not perused every podcast, so I don't know if you have hit on this topic yet, but I'm thinking it might be really thought-provoking exchange if the subject was kicked around of mental illness and guns. These are the questions that I would like to hear. What should it take to get a person declared mentally unfit to own a gun? how should that be handled? Who should make the determination, meaning minimum qualifications and credentials, and what recourse review should the person have and how quickly? This is a subject that is going to come up soon. The dipstick Neanderthal governor of Ohio is already involved in it, and it won't be long before someone in the swamp will make a serious attempt to quantify, qualify, characterize what it means to be mentally unfit to own a gun. So there's the email we got, so we thought we'd talk about it.
Well, first off, I think everybody should understand that both Denton and Sasquatch agrees that crazy people shouldn't have firearms. Do you agree?
Yes. That means liberals as well.
Yeah, absolutely liberals, yes. So, get out of the way. Yes, we are pro-Second Amendment, but not pro-Second Amendment for crazy people. If you're crazy, you shouldn't have a gun. You shouldn't be part of those of us who will take back our country from tyranny and arbitrary rule. But after all, you'll think you're Napoleon, and you're going to try to lead the charge. We can't have that.
Well, actually, I'd like them to lead the charge. I want them in front of me if they have a gun.
Well, you got a point there. Yeah. Well, he'll think he should have a sword, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll just give him we'll give him a stick and tell him it's a sword.
Right. Well, now, first off, let's preface this by saying the federal law regarding mental illness and guns, the Gun Control Act of 68 prohibits any person from selling or otherwise transferring a firearm or ammunition, because who knows what crazy people can do with just ammunition, to any person who has been adjudicated as a mental defective or committed to any mental institution. According to federal regulations, a person who has been adjudicated as a mental defective, you see, they're basically saying retard, but people get mad at me when I say anyway. If a court, board, commission, or other lawful authority has determined that he or she, as a result of marked subnormal intelligence, liberalism, mental illness, liberalism, incompetency, my boss, condition or disease meets one of the following criteria, is a danger to himself, herself, I hate this, people, himself, the word he is gender neutral in these kind of topics. Stop typing this crap. And this is at the Law Center, Giffords organization. Okay. You remember the Giffords, she got shot.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, is danger to himself or others, or lacks the mental capacity to contract or manage his or her own affairs. Now, remember, we're going to have to talk about that about old people. So we already have the concept since 1968 that crazy people shouldn't have guns. Okay, that's federal law since 68. And that kind of answers a little bit of Pastor Dwight's question, doesn't it?
A little bit.
A little bit. Now it says a court, a board, a commission, or other lawful authority determines who is crazy. Now that's where we have a little bit of issue, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Now, if you go to court, then both sides have to bring in the professional experts who says he's not crazy, he is crazy. And eventually, at the end of the day, a judge or the jury, whatever it is, will determine whether or not the person's crazy or not crazy. I'm assuming in this case it would be a judge. And
well, I was just going to say, I'm on the Law Center .gifford.org, and they have just talking points, basically, just the sort of things they're throwing out there that they think should be in any kind of legislation that gets passed. And one of them says, licensed psychotherapists, law enforcement officials, and school administrators must report mentally ill individuals who demonstrate violent behavior. These people become prohibited from possessing firearms. Okay, now I understand the psychotherapist, but law enforcement and school administrators, they can't say if someone is crazy or not. They can say he's acting crazy, but they can't say he's crazy.
Read that again, though. Didn't you say violent?
Well, must report mentally ill individuals who demonstrate violent behavior.
Okay, so it's mentally ill who demonstrate violent behavior. First off, all little boys from elementary school, well, all throughout public education are a bit violent. They'll fight at a drop of a hat. I did. That didn't make me crazy. And it also doesn't mean I was going to kill you.
Well, I mean, wouldn't some people say that anybody that demonstrates violent behavior is mentally ill?
Well, snowflakes and soy boys would of course say that. Yes.
Well, I'm talking more like violent outbursts, not protecting yourself in a fight. I mean, if somebody gets angry and starts throwing chairs around, that's sort of a violent behavior. That isn't normal.
That's not. But does that mean he's going to take a gun and shoot you, though?
No, but it means they act irrational.
Yeah.
So
yeah. What do they call it? Impetuous?
That's another word, yes.
Yeah. So now here's another point of it. All these people have committed, these youngins have committed crimes that we've all heard about. They were on selective, SSRIs. Crazy, happy pills.
Serotonin inhibitors or something like that?
Yeah, serotonin selective reuptake inhibitors.
All right.
Yeah, so all these kids were on SSRIs, and they went and... So does that mean everybody is on SSRIs can't have guns?
Well, you know what? I'm not sure. I would think so.
Okay. Do you know any veterans?
Yes, I do. A few. My brother's a veteran.
Do you know any veterans who are on, I don't know what else to call them, happy pills?
They may be, but I'm not aware of it.
Okay. I know some veterans that have that PTSD, and they're on happy pills. And I would hand them my weapon, let them shoot it. I will stand next to them, behind them. I will stand in front of them so they could use my shoulder as a brace. I wouldn't think anything of it. So are these now? Dianne Feinstein says that all veterans should not be able to have weapons because all veterans, in one shape, form, or fashion or other, are mentally defective because they were in the military.
Well, we could make the argument that she's mentally defective because she's 1,000 years old.
I think she was mentally defective when she was 20 years old.
Probably.
But, so, where do we say, yes, you're on happy pills, you can't have guns?
Well, I think that's kind of the big question, which it's sort of an unanswerable question because there's different sort of levels for everybody.
Now, we talked about this before the show. Bipolar. If somebody's bipolar, should they have weapons?
I do not believe so.
I don't believe so either. And why do you not believe so?
For the same reason that my old roommate that was schizophrenic shouldn't have weapons because she may not take her pills. And when she doesn't, she acts erratic.
So there's a problem. Nowadays, our idea of handling crazy people isn't to put them in crazy houses. We hand them crazy pills, and we're going to assume that crazy people are going to remember or bother to take the crazy pills.
Uh-huh.
Now, bipolar people, for those of you who don't understand bipolar disorder, they have intense lows. I mean, they go into the bowels of hell. And when people are in the bowels of hell, you don't know what they're going to do. It can be very dangerous, violent to themselves and to others. But when they're on the very tippy top high of their issue, it is incredibly pleasing to them. So you hand these people a handful of crazy pills and say, here, take these, and they're going to make you middle of the road. They may or may not take those pills because sometimes some of the people say, you know what, I'll take hell because when I get to heaven, it is so great. So you have somebody that you've given the drugs to. You're assuming they're going to take the drugs because they told you all the right things, but they throw them away because they want to have the high, and they don't worry about the low. All the people around them has to worry about the low. So, yeah, if I do believe if you're bipolar, you probably shouldn't have a gun.
Well, and another question that not a question, is something that doesn't get brought up and should, is a lot of these kids today, I don't want to go off on too far of a tangent, but a lot of parents don't want to be parents. So when their kid acts up, they take them down and get them some pills that mellows them out. Okay, if that's the way you want to raise your kid, it's a horrible thing to do, but if that's the way you want to do it, I suppose you can. So these kids are on these pills from, this time they're 10 years old until they hit 18. And then once they hit 18 and go off to college or go out into the world on their own, the parent can't make them take the drugs anymore. So they don't take them anymore. But their body is so used to having drugs in them that they usually end up self-medicating and they go to illicit drugs. So basically we're getting kids hooked on drugs and then sending them out into the world on their own, and they find other ways to self-medicate. And when they do and they get a hold of a gun, this is what happens.
Yeah, on top of that, the mental medication always says, always the side effects or warning labels and all that kind of stuff. One of the warning labels is suicidal tendencies. Have you noticed that? You see it on TV, you read about it. One of the side effects could be suicidal tendencies. Now, if you're willing to commit suicide, chances are you're willing to kill other people too.
Well, and a lot of the numbers that people throw around as far as guns killing people are from suicide. So there you go.
There we go.
I mean, it doesn't get broadcast as much as when somebody goes into school and shoots kids, but a lot of those numbers are suicides.
So we've determined that if somebody is a danger to themselves or others, shouldn't have guns, and lacks the mental capacity to contract or manage his or her own affairs, which drives me to the elderly. Let's say you're 90 years old and you're not really good with the numbers anymore.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And now your son or your daughter is, what do you call that when you have the legal thing where you can act on somebody else's behalf? Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That
person is taking care of your financial affairs. The government can say, you, Mr. 90-year-old, can't protect yourself. Is that right? Just because you're 90 years old, you're not very good at remembering your checkbook and that kind of stuff. You still have your moral compass. You're not going to kill the neighbor because the dog pissed on your grass, but you still have the right to self-defense if somebody breaks in your house.
Well, and this is one of those things that it's real tough because they let a lot of old people drive, and some old people can. We for a while there here in California, we had quite a few issues where old people would hit the gas instead of the brake, and we had one down in Santa Monica where this guy tore through a market and killed like 30 people.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody was screaming, well, we got to take driver's license away from old people, and mainly they weren't screaming that because old people vote. And you start saying that, they're going to vote you out of office.
Well, that idea has been kicked around before, but it never gained any traction for the exact reason you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, if you take grandpa's license away, that means somebody's got to drive them for them. And nobody's willing to do that for them.
And sort of what I'm getting at it with this is it sort of needs to be, I think, on a case-by-case basis. But then again, that creates a whole huge government bureaucracy. You got to go down to the crazy DMV, and they have to evaluate you whether you're crazy, sane enough to still own a gun, even though you can't balance your checkbook. It's one of those hard questions.
It is. But here's the thing. These people who've committed these mass atrocities, they always, the fact that there were warning signs that were ignored has been reported each and every time.
Well, yeah, that's one of the arguments they don't want to make is that, this, we'll just use Florida since that's the most recent one.
Yep.
That kid, there were warning signs all over the place that a bunch of people ignored. I mean, the ball was dropped by multiple agencies, the school district, everybody, and now they want to regulate guns. Maybe they need to do a better job of regulating the people that are supposed to be watching these type of people.
But they didn't want to make an issue out of it because of some kind of, I don't remember what exactly it is. Every time you make an issue out of somebody, it dings you against the money you get or something other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Is that the Obama thing? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. It was some kind of mandate that he passed saying, well, it was basically saying that minorities and certain people don't get a fair shake. So let's not classify everything they do as bad so they don't.
Our school is perfect. We have no problems here. Give us money.
Yeah, basically. And
so.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
And so it's an administrative problem. It's not that there's not laws in the books. It's not that there isn't. For example, we just read the 68 gun control thing. There are mechanisms there, but they're not being used because of money. Now, we also see that the thing that they're making a big deal of is, well, not all the states have to report. I mean, I should say that the federal government cannot make the states report crazy people. Okay, but if you look at here at this at lawcenter.giffords.org gun laws, you'll see that as a matter of fact, the overwhelming majority of the states actually do require the reporting of mental health records to NICS.
Uh-huh.
And how many was that? Well, I'm looking at the list here, but it looks like dang near all is other than maybe three.
Yeah, I think the number was
five states that don't do it.
Yeah.
Now, the 5 states that don't do it is Arkansas, Michigan, Ohio, and Utah.
Well, maybe they need
to
get on board.
Yeah. When's the last time you heard of a school shooting in Arkansas, Michigan, Ohio, or Utah?
Very good point.
So the states do this, but nobody's paying attention. Okay, so the problem is that it's not that we don't have laws, is that we have morons running the government. Just pointing that out. I mean, it's like, hello, Captain Obvious, but that's the problem.
All right. Just between the two of us, let's go with Dwight's first question. What should it take to get a person declared mentally unfit to own a gun? What is your prerequisite for something like that? Mentally
unfit. Okay, so if somebody is in a nut house, now, well, man, this is going to be a 3-hour-long show here. If somebody's in a nut house, obviously they shouldn't have guns in a nut house. All right. Now, they are released from the nut house. Can they have weapons afterwards? Now, if they're released, I'm assuming they're normal.
Well, and as you pointed out earlier, a lot of these people, there aren't even nut houses anymore. They just medicate everybody. So,
right.
I mean, even if they were in some kind of facility and they're given pills and sent out on the street, that's not going to really solve the problem.
Yeah, I don't agree with the boards and all those other authorities. I like the notion of courts. Because in a court, you get to argue your side as well. You know, and in a board situation, well, you get to talk, but that doesn't mean anything. They've already made up their minds. But if you got a good judge who's listening to both sides, I would trust the judge to make the right determination.
Well, and I think a lot of these people that, basically mostly liberals, but that are talking about making all these rules and stuff like that, they live in a world that isn't real. I mean, we all know that freedom isn't free, and sometimes bad things are going to happen. I mean, you can't catch every single person that might slip through the cracks. So occasionally there might be some gun violence, but that's something you live with in society. I mean, you could be walking down the street and get hit by a car. It's just something you deal with.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And how many times is anybody out there really worried about being shot by a crazy person? It happens so infrequently that it makes major headline news, and they talk about it for days.
Yeah, well,
so it's not like a DUI or something.
Yeah.
How many people die of DUIs every year?
I don't know, but it's quite a few, I'm sure.
More than mass shootings, I'll guarantee you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I was thinking about this the other day. What are there, 600 million guns in the United States, roughly?
Sure.
I think that's the number that I've seen before. But even if it's, a million guns, that many guns, and this happens so infrequently. You see what I'm saying? It's like they're making it bigger than it needs to be. Well, and we know why, because this isn't about safety or about children or any of that. It's about taking gun rights away.
Yeah. So if you're coming out of a nut house, okay, you want to have a gun. I understand. Who doesn't want to have a gun? Unless you're a liberal, a snowflake, or a soy boy, you're going to want to have a gun. But you have to go through court first, I would say.
You know what? To back up my what I just said about them just wanting to take guns away, and to back up what you were saying about them being stupid, this is from CNN. I'll just read a little portion here. According to a U.S. official briefed on the investigation, Cruz used an AR-15 style weapon that he had bought legally. No, he didn't use an AR-15 style weapon. He used an AR-15. It's not an AR-15 style weapon.
Well, now we're just picking on the stupid liberals and their ignorance, you know.
Well, and that's part of this argument is there are people that are ignorant to a lot of facts that are trying to tell us how we should do things.
Now let's talk about a Cruz situation. Okay, so you've got this kid at that age. I don't know if you call him a kid, man, or almost whatever. We're talking about somebody who obviously had problems at school, had problems in his life. What do you do with that? I mean, should the school system say, hey, we're going to take you to court? How do you do this?
Well, I mean, in his case, I believe that he was kicked out of that school and sent to like a secondary school, you know, where all the bad kids go. Mm-hmm. So at least from that point of view, they sort of did what they were supposed to do, which was, you know, he wasn't like all the other kids, so they needed to send him somewhere where he could be helped more individually, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. But even so, that didn't stop him from coming back. You know, obviously he held some grievance with
animosity.
Yeah, whatever went on at the school, so that's why he decided to go back there and do that.
All right. So, but just going to the rebel school, that doesn't mean you're going to have your guns taken away. So, what mechanism do we have, or should we have, to where, you know, we're picking on kids now, but this is a perfect example. You're kicked out of normal school and you're thrown over to the bad kids school. Mm-hmm. Should that immediately trigger a should it be put in the NICS that you can't have a gun? Or should it be kicked over to the court system where they decide it's adjudicated that you can't have a gun?
Well, I think at the very least it should probably go over to a court, because clearly what he has done by being sent to that school has shown that he cannot interact with quote-unquote normal kids. So they had to put him someplace special, and that is obviously for a reason. So, you know, maybe that should be looked at.
Now, do we do that every time there's a problem, though? I mean, because, I mean, yes, I guess we would have to. But do you have a gun? No, I don't. Do you want a gun? No, I don't. Well, we're not going to bother with the court system then. I mean, in other words, you know how many kids are bad kids?
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of bad kids. I mean, really, there's a lot of bad kids that are thrown over to the other school, that they can't really get along with the other kids, but they won't kill anybody. They're just troublemakers. Okay, can they not have guns?
That's a tough question. Because
that is this is a tough question that we've been asked.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dwight.
It's tough because if they are troublemakers, I mean, they have the propensity to do something like that, at least more so than a kid that's not a troublemaker.
Okay, so every kid that's a troublemaker, that he's having issues for whatever reason, and they put him over there to the special needs classroom, he has to go before a judge who's going to take away his right to keep and bear arms. That's going to be costly, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I suppose it would be.
And we're going to do this. We're going to go through all of this because of a small handful of kids have done stupid things that had caught the attention of all the media. Isn't that David Hogg dude?
He definitely shouldn't have a gun.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think it would
it
would break his wrist if he tried to lift it.
Oh, I'd loan one of mine just to watch it. So I don't know. I mean, I really don't. We agree that bipolar folks shouldn't have guns because I'm not going to take a chance they're going to take the pill. Okay. If you're coming out of a nut house, what few we got left, I don't know if it's because of drugs and alcohol. If you're clear and clean, you're fine as far as I'm concerned. If you're coming out of the nut house because you think you're Napoleon, now you need to talk about your desire for guns in front of the judge.
Well, if you can come out of the nut house or the hospital or wherever and easily make that transition back into society and cope, with stress and all the things we all cope with every day, then you should definitely be allowed to have a gun. But if you need to have pills to do that, that's another question.
So if you can come out of a nut house, A-OK, 1 year later, you can petition the court for your weapons.
Yeah, I would think you should be able to do that.
That sounds good.
I mean, a lot of people also think that, some people get their gun rights taken away because they have a felony. And some people believe that after a certain amount of time, you should be able to get those rights back.
What do you think about that, as a matter of fact? We've had arguments about that on the prepperformance.net.
Well, I think if, because it's okay, say you do something really stupid when you're a kid, because that's what kids do, and you get a felony, at 19, should that haunt you the rest of your life?
No, probably not. No.
I don't think it should just be easy where you can go down and they rubber stamp you and go, all right, here you go. But, I mean, you should at least get the chance to make your case and say, look, I've been in society. I haven't done anything for X amount of years. I volunteer at church and I'm a big brother and all this kind of stuff. I turned my life around. Then, yeah, you should be able to get it back.
Okay, what if you committed burglary?
I don't think that's not a felony, is it?
Oh, I would like to look it up. Felony burglary? Oh, look it up. Felony. And the point of the matter is,
I think it's a felony if you use a gun during a burglary.
Well, that's right. To save bandwidth, I turned it off. I can't look anything up. My bad. Okay, let's say that you committed a felony that had nothing to do with firearms. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of them out there. Let's say you beat somebody half to death. Aggravated assault. Whatever. You serve your time. Should you get your guns back after you walk out of prison?
I don't know about that, but if you can show over a period of time that you don't have the propensity to beat people to death or half to death, then
what's half to death? Now we're splitting hairs. Okay, somebody had it coming to them. It's like a professor at the college I went to for criminal justice. He said, you could let all the murderers out and you'd probably never see them again. They killed their problem.
Well, that's true.
Sometimes you just have a bad day and you come across a moron.
Yeah, but none of us, most of us don't beat that person to death.
Well, half to death. Okay, come on, give me half a death. All right.
I mean, we've all been in that position before where we've had to whoop somebody's ass. But the older you get, the less it happens.
That's right. Less testosterone. Chances are you're not going to be as aggressive. Got it, soy boy. The point of the matter is, you go to prison, you pay your dues. Okay. Hopefully, you learn something, like you don't like prison that much, and so you're going to control yourself. And I think that once you come out of prison, I'm not talking about probation. Okay, I'm talking about when you fill your full term, you should get your weapons back. You should be fully reinstated because you paid your debts to society.
Yeah, and that works for the guy that did something stupid one time and went to prison, but that doesn't work for the guy that, it's a revolving door. He's out of prison and back in, a few
Well, I've got
later.
an answer for that, but it would sound very extreme.
I'm curious if it's what I'm thinking.
Well, you go in the door once, okay, you're an idiot. You go in the door twice, you're slow-witted, ain't you, boy? You go in the door 3 times, well, you're not going to see the outdoor again.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, I'm not sure if it was nationwide, but here in California, we had the 3 strikes law that they took off the books, which is basically letting a bunch of people out that shouldn't be out. But I believe in 3 strikes. I mean, everybody can make a mistake once or twice, but 3 times, it's a you issue.
In Alabama, it's called the Habitual Offenders Act, and They shortened it down to the Bitch Act. That's what the criminals called it. But I'm not talking about keeping them in prison. I don't see any reason why we should keep them in prison. Why should they sit there languishing in a prison cell while we feed them and take care of them?
Well,
I mean, put them down like rabid dogs. That's my point.
Well, I mean, we're kind of getting off topic here, but just
we are.
real quick, I also think prison should be a lot harder than it is. I think you go to prison during the day, you get up early in the morning, you go out in the yard, you move rocks from one side of the prison to the other side of the prison. Once you get that pile of rocks moved, then you move it back, and you keep doing that until your time's up. And I guarantee people wouldn't want to go back to prison.
Probably not, except the really, really slow-witted ones.
Well, and that's where the 3 strikes comes in.
That's right. Look at the flowers, as Carol said in Walking Dead. Yeah. But, yeah, the crazy thing is really kind of difficult. But I'll say this, and I agree with you. If you are bipolar, you shouldn't be having a gun because we can't trust you to take your pills. But my sticking point on the whole pills things is the veterans, because I know too many veterans who've seen too many bad things and they're having difficulty coping with it, and so they're taking happy pills. But you know what? Those are people I know that are just as good as gold. They know right from wrong, and they would never kill you just because you dropped a napkin in front of them at a Hardee's.
Well, I mean, you know, we've got some of the best and brightest minds here in the country, so maybe we need to get some people together and they go through all the drugs and all the, bipolar and schizophrenia and all the different mental illnesses there can be and say, okay, this group right here, these people could never have a gun because it's just bad. And these people here, veterans that just take a happy pill because they have PTSD, they're okay. I mean, maybe we need to make some rules on that.
And then, on a closing note here, the problem is not that people have issues. The problem in my mind nowadays is, and it has been this way for quite a while, is it's become politicalized.
Oh yeah, it's totally that way. That's the big problem. I mean, going back to the school not doing what they should have done, or the sheriff's office. I mean, it was all done out of for political reasons. Yeah.
So if you let the liberal medical people in charge, they're going to say nobody can have guns.
Yes.
And that's my problem right there. So if you put it in the hands of the professionals nowadays seem to be leaning up really, really hard to the left.
Yeah, that's very true. We definitely don't want that. The left making all the rules.
Yeah. Well, look here. I don't know how long we've been going on, but I want to get this in here because I think it's a scream. Okay, I'm blowing snot bubbles when I read this the first time. This is great.
Does this happen to be weird news?
This happens to be weird news.
It's time for weird news.
With Denton and Sasquatch.
In China.
Well, that's weird.
Now, they've had a couple of problems here. Just a few days after news broke that a woman found out her puppy bought from a Chinese pet store, which is kind of handy because she was in China, last year is actually a fox.
What does the fox say?
Well, it's kind of a dog. Another pet owner has come to a similar conclusion. According to The Independent 2 years ago, this is old news, but, it takes time for news to filter out of China. Su Yun from Kunming in the Yunnan province of China.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Bought a puppy on vacation, believing it to be a Tibetan Mastiff, and brought the animal home.
Aw, that's so cute.
That's so cute. From day one, Yun and her family were impressed by the pet's massive appetite. The dog reportedly chowed down on a box of fruit and 2 buckets of noodles every day.
It's like Marmaduke.
Big time, but Marmaduke don't eat fruit and noodles, people. That should have been first flag on the play. But it wasn't until the pet reached 250 pounds and started walking around on its hind legs that they realized, oh, we're not too bright, are we? Okay. It took 250 pounds and walking on its hind legs before they realized, hey, this snout don't look right. These paws ain't dog paws. Come on, people. Back off on the MSG stuff. The dog was actually an Asiatic black bear. All right.
I don't think I've ever seen a bear cub that looked like a puppy.
No, and you never will. More than likely, unless it's deformed. Okay, since the family is slightly and reasonably afraid of wild bears and is not capable of caring for one of these large creatures. Okay, hold on. They couldn't tell the difference between a bear and a dog, and then they're going to say they're afraid of bears. What kind of experience have they ever had with a bear to make them reasonably afraid?
Well, maybe the one living in their house.
Well, they've owned one.
Well, maybe they gave him a room and said, okay, that's the bear's room. Nobody go in there.
Yeah, he's 250 pounds and walking around like a human being, okay? And you're going to now say all of a sudden, oh, I'm afraid of bears. Why? Now because you realize it's a bear, you're afraid of it? Oh, that's racist or speciesist or whatever. Anyway, they have since transferred their former family pet to Yunnan Wildlife Rescue Center, where it'll receive proper care from wildlife professionals. Okay, which I didn't know. I didn't know China cared enough about these kind of things to have a wildlife refuge or rescue center. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, they do all the panda breeding and stuff, right?
Yeah, but that's for marketing.
All right.
All right, they made a name for themselves about this panda crap.
Well, that's true.
Okay, they've even given us pandas because it's their national panda whatever thing. Yeah. I think they demanded them back one time. That's beside the point. Anyway, yeah, these people, they thought this bear was a dog, and they raised it to be 250 pounds and walking around on its hind legs, eating all of their food before they said, oh, there's no dog. Oh, this bear, this bad.
Well, you know what? I think I have the solution for China.
What?
Pet rocks.
Pet rocks.
They can all have pet rocks.
I think that may save people from getting mauled to death by their pet dog that turns out to be a bear.
Well, I mean, in China, don't they have a lot of, at least in the rural areas, people eating dogs? So maybe this is just turnabout as fair play, you know? The dog/bear eats you.
So the dog had the bear cub come in and take its place, hoping that he would eat the people.
Maybe.
As vengeance from his dad being eaten.
Well, much like guns, we could discuss bears all day.
Yeah, but it's getting kind of late, and I have to get more lemonade because I am still dehydrated. It was hot out there. Darn hot. All right, look here. I know we solved no problems in this world. We talked about it, but we solved nothing. And then we made fun of the Chinese. And I think we threw a few rocks over it to the Palestinians, which is kind of funny because the Palestinians are always throwing rocks at other people. But anyway, you could tell the world's gone crazy and violent, and I think we're doomed. So what do you think we ought to do about it?
Go get some more lemonade.
We're doomed, so drink up. Y'all have a good night. We'll see y'all Sunday, maybe.
Love the way you qualify that. Maybe.
Well, you just never know.
He was born in Oklahoma, and his wife's name's Betty Lou Thelma, and he's not responsible for what he's doing, 'cause his mother made him what he is, and it's up against the wall.